In light of the importance of economic development, the Chamber chose to devote today's luncheon to that topic. And we're very fortunate to be able to host today's speaker. Jeff Boyd is the Chief of Staff to the Governor of Texas. Previously, he was General Counsel at the Governor's Office and was a senior partner at Thompson and Knight. He also has served our state as Deputy Attorney General for Civil Litigation. He is a past chair of Goodwill Industries of Central Texas. Jeff received his bachelor's degree from Abilene Christian and his law degree from Pepperdine. But the education credential he's most proud of is graduating from Round Rock High School. And so with that, please join me in welcoming our speaker today, Jeff Boyd.
Well, thank you very much. I am really happy to be here and consider it a real honor to be here today with all of you. Doug, thank you, and Mayor McGraw, Chairman Basie, and the rest of you, thank you for welcoming me and bringing Larry and me here to join you today. And thanks to all the staff and volunteers and members, Encore and other corporate supporters of the Chamber. It is a partnership, and it takes the effort of everybody. I do want to thank you for all of you as a Chamber and this partnership for the great work that you're doing in this community to create opportunities and, bottom line, to make life better, not only for the 100,000 Texans who live here in Round Rock, but also for those out-of-towners who come here regularly to shop and to learn and to play down 79 and other places in this great community. On behalf of Larry and our Office of Economic Development and Tourism, I especially want to thank this Chamber for working so well and the great relationship that they've developed with our Office of Economic Development. At the state level, we're involved all over the state, communities all over the place, including a lot of out-of-state recruiting that we do. But what it really takes within the state is a working relationship with places like this Chamber and partnership. But mostly I do want to thank you for inviting me to personally give me a chance to come up here and speak today. I'll tell you, I don't normally take on these these substantive topics as a speaker on behalf of the Governor's Office because I'm no expert in economic development. I'm a lawyer, started off as a litigation associate, first-year lawyer right out of law school, downtown Austin with Thompson and Knight. After about 8 or 9 years of that, John Cornyn, who at the time was Attorney General, asked me if I'd come and head up civil litigation for his office there at the state level, and I couldn't say no to that opportunity, so I did that for 3 years. After he became senator and Greg Abbott became AG, I stayed with him in '03 through the legislative session and the transition, and then I went back to Thompson and Knight and continued to work as a litigator, then with emphasis in helping clients solve problems with the state and other governmental bodies. And then it was last year, actually, I think it was the first week of December, I got a call saying, Governor asked me to call you, would you be interested in coming and being his general counsel? And I said, well, I can't say I'm interested, but I'll talk to him about it. And of course, once you agree to talk about something like that, the answer is always yes. I mean, you have to find a way to say yes to that kind of honor and invitation. So January 3rd, I started working twice as much for half as much, and legislative session started January the 11th, and it was pretty much gung-ho since then. As you know, on August 13th, things changed around the governor's office when Governor Perry decided to take on this additional endeavor, and Ray Sullivan, who had been serving as chief of staff, went to work as his communications director on the campaign side, and I was honored for the governor to ask me if I would move into that chief of staff role. So not only do I not know anything about economic development, I don't even know anything about the governor's office. I've only been there a year, but we are having a lot of fun and really working hard. I was telling somebody, I know that no matter who you support in a political campaign, you don't want to be paying me your tax dollars to be working on that campaign. We take that very seriously. My job is to help the office of the governor operate and do the things that it is constitutionally and legislatively charged with doing. and other people work on the campaign. And we keep it that way because we think that's the right way to do it. So having said I'm not an expert and I don't do this, here's why I said, well, let me go speak at that one. As Doug said, 33 years ago, I was struggling through my senior year of high school, trying to stay motivated and not skip too many classes, and really looking forward to May of 1979 when I would walk across the stage and get my diploma as a graduate of Round Rock High School. Back then, our motto as seniors was drag on. We just wanted to get to May. Go Dragons! But since accepting the invite to come today, I have spent a lot of time thinking about Round Rock back then. Truth is, I don't remember a whole lot. What I do remember is that that year, 78 to 79, was both my last and first year at Round Rock. I'm an Air Force brat, was raised moving all over the place. First 3 years of high school, I was in a place called Kaiserslautern, Germany, West Germany at the time, K-Town Raiders. Spent 3 years in Germany going to high school, and my dad got transferred in 1978 to Bergstrom. So I show up right before school starts as a senior for my senior year at Round Rock High School. I do remember that I had a very bright red letter jacket that said K-Town, Germany on the back. I may as well have been from Mars, going to Round Rock High School. And in fact, at K-Town, you put your graduating year on your shoulder of that letter jacket. And so mine said 79, and trust me, I was not a lineman. And everybody wondered, now you didn't play defensive or offensive line, did you, when you... No, because here around right now, I am proud to say in my closet at home, I have 2 letter jackets, a red K-Town, and what is it, maroon, I guess? I am colorblind, but I remember kind of black and maroon, Round Rock High School letter jacket. I lived at the time in Anderson Mill, 10 miles due west down 620, because Round Rock High School was the only high school in the Round Rock Independent School District, which incorporates that area of Anderson Mill. So every morning I'd get up, and I bought a car from a kid in Pflugerville for $300. It was a 1971 Opel. Not an Opel Kadett, not an Opel, it was just an Opel. It literally had 2 bullet holes in the front left fender. I don't know where that came from. So every morning we'd get up, and 620 was 2 lanes and like this, all the way. And in the morning there'd be this line of ants heading from Anderson Mill, Forest North, that area, over to Round Rock High School. And every afternoon there'd be this line of ants heading back. And there were always the guys in the souped up Camaros that would pass on the curve. And every once in a while you'd see them down in the ditch and laugh at them because they thought they were cool, and they certainly were faster than my 71 Opel. I do remember that the Round Rock had a low water crossing bridge. Now you don't have that. I guess is it still considered a low water? I mean back then it was a low, well I mean you drove in the bed of the creek past the Round Rock. And every time it rained at least one student got washed off that low water crossing. And we'd all fight, we'd all laugh at whoever it was. Fortunately no one was ever hurt. I do remember that Brushy Creek off of 620 was a brand new neighborhood. They had just started building houses at Brushy Creek off of 620. I ran my first 10K. It was the Brushy Creek 10K in 1979. I remember that. By the way, I've only run one since then. I remember there was a Mr. Gaddy's on North 183, and there was another one in Round Rock. I can't remember where we ate lunch when I was a senior in high school, other than in the school cafeteria. I remember North Cross Mall was where we went to on the weekends. I remember, and I ran track. Now I do remember that I learned very quickly, it was called Hell Week with 2-a-days, that boy, Texans take football seriously. It was nothing like Germany. My real sport was track, and I really enjoyed running track. And what I loved about that was you'd have to come early to school, and the track team would go off and run these long distances. And a group of guys, I don't know where these guys are. I remember one was Toby Thurman and not Dan Carney maybe. Anyway, I think some of them may still be in the area. We'd come early so that when we got done running and took our showers, we'd still have about 15 or 20 minutes to run over to the Lone Star Bakery and get our Round Rock donuts every morning before school. Well, what I couldn't remember, and that really is about all I can remember, in order to figure out what I couldn't remember, I brought my yearbook, 1979 yearbook, and I just got to share a couple things with you out of this. I pulled this out a week or two ago and looked at it. The main headline of sort of the year in review package is called "A Small Town Chaperones a Big School." Small town chaperones a big school. The city limits sign at the time said population 5,663. In fact, the population at the time was between 11,000 and 12,000 in 1978, but the population of the school district was 50,000. So you had a school district with 5 times as many people as you did within the city limits. 60% of those attending school in the district lived outside the city limits of Round Rock. I love this part. For approximately 52 students, 8 a.m. marked the beginning of their school day because there were 2 zero-hour classes, calculus and computer science. I was not in either of those. This is the best part, especially with Dell here in Round Rock. Equipment was acquired as well, including the donation of a computer. It says it right here. And I love this. Former vocational counselor Lois Hull became Round Rock High School's first female administrator by taking the job of assistant principal, 1979. And then finally, you'll have to come look at this picture. You won't believe it, but there's these 3 really cool-looking kids leaning up against a wall right outside the school. And the heading says, "Relaxing in clouds of smoke, sophomore Robbie and junior Doug watch the passers-by." They're sitting there right there at the school. There were no, are there smoking sections at Round Rock High School now? There were back then. Relaxing in clouds of smoke. Yeah. Yeah, drag on. Well, in light of all that, it's really amazing to stop and think about Round Rock right now, 30 years later. Over 101,000 residents, 6 different high schools, if I got the number right, because there's that one special high school, 4 different hospitals, several campuses of higher education in the area. So I was asked to speak today on the importance and talk to you about the importance of the economic development, but somehow I kind of feel like I'm telling know-all about the flood. As a group, your past and recent efforts and activities clearly demonstrate that you know full well the importance of economic development in Round Rock. In fact, your recent election results, as were mentioned, particularly Propositions 9 and 10, demonstrate that the vast majority of your citizens know the importance of economic development as well. Round Rock's a great model of the impact that's possible when the state and cities and counties and chambers and private companies and investors work together. The changes that we've seen over the last 33 years, and especially over the past 10 or 15 years, are truly remarkable. Round Rock, as well as several other Texas communities, and if I can say so, the Texas legislature and my boss and his office have proven what can happen when we all work together, both intentionally and strategically, to create and maintain a job-friendly environment within our community. Setting aside all of the politics of today, Texas really does have a lot to brag about as a state. This year, Chief Executive Magazine named Texas the 2011 Best State for Business for the 7th year in a row. CNBC named Texas the top state for infrastructure and transportation and a top state for business in June of this year. In DCI's 2011 Winning Strategy Survey that they do each year, by far the most corporate executives and location advisors named Texas as the state with the most favorable business climate in the nation. They cited the low cost of doing business here, a pro-business climate, an economic support system, and incentives as the top reasons for relocating or expanding a business in the Lone Star State. Notably, Texas has topped that list in that category every year since 1999. Area Development's 2011 Top States for Doing Business survey concluded, quote, Texas is far and away the consultant's #1 choice for doing business. You've got some handouts on your paper. They're just to take, on your table. They're just to take with you. I won't spend much time, but as they demonstrate, Texas, and as was mentioned earlier, is far and away the best job creator in the country. We've added 1.2 million net jobs since December of 2000, while the U.S. as a whole lost 1.1 million jobs during the same time. According to Forbes, Texas is also forecasted to add the most jobs over the next 5 years, with Texas employment expanding 2.9% annually through the year of 2015, and that represents 1.6 million new jobs in 5 years. Just last month, Site Selection magazine ranked Texas #1 in its top state business climate rankings. As you can imagine, well, I don't know if I could go on and on because I was just reading you what Larry gave me. Larry could go on and on with those numbers and those sites about the state of Texas and our performance. But of course, Round Rock has a lot to brag about too. Companies like Dell have brought national attention, and it's not just because companies move here, it's because they succeed and stay here. I understand Dell's about to open, or has just opened, a 10,000 square foot customer solutions center in this past year. Premium Outlets attracts visitors from all over, more every year. The IKEA store, which I've still never been in, and I apologize for not supporting this community, but I don't know if I can make myself go in now. No, it's my wife now. We definitely support it. But I let her do the shopping. But they came in 2006, and I understand they're already expanding that store. So 5 years later, they're not only here, but they're staying, and they're succeeding, and they're growing. As was mentioned, Emerson Process Management has decided that they're about to move their headquarters here. It's going to be 750 new jobs and 125 more over the next 3 years. Companies come here and they stay here because they can succeed and grow here. And their people can enjoy being here. I mean, that's one of the great things about Round Rock. Quickly becoming known, if not already, as the sports capital of Texas. We are big fans of express games. We love to go out there, and I understand Proposition 9 is going to let you build a new indoor sports facility that will help make that even more so. And then, of course, I haven't been back probably in 2 years, but there's still Lone Star Bakery and Round Rock Donuts, right? They stay, they succeed. No wonder CNBC recently named Round Rock one of its top 10 perfect suburbs, based on job opportunities, quality schools, education levels, low crime rate, the commute, and the cost of living. What's truly remarkable is how Texas and Round Rock have done all of this in what have been very challenging economic times. Neither Texas nor Round Rock, nor all the various employers and companies that all of you represent, are immune from the economic challenges that our nation and really this whole world has been facing over the last 3 or 4 years. But what we've done is proven that you can maintain a strong economy even in challenging times. My boss, if you've ever heard him speak on this topic, you've heard him say that it's a simple plan for economic strength. You limit the regulations on business to those that are absolutely necessary. You keep your taxes low, and you have a very fair judicial system. And that's been not just his, but the state's leaders' policy and model for the last 10 to 12 years. And that's what's led this state to be so successful. In these kind of tough times over the last 2, 3, 4 years, though, I would say it takes a little more than that. It takes discipline as leaders, as planners, as business people in this community. We have to tighten our belt in strategic ways. It definitely takes discipline as elected officials and government officials. We have to prioritize our expenditures, and we have to separate our wants from our needs when it comes to our community expenditures. If we decide that spending money on, even on something as great as economic development, is something we can do haphazardly without discipline, we'll end up impacting and overburdening both our citizens and our communities. So we have to be strategic and intentional in the way we approach it. We have to make responsible decisions to live within our means, just like we have to do as individuals and families. We have to work very strategically to create the right opportunities for the right moment in time. Make sure this place is where companies and people who are willing to work hard and risk their capital will have at least a fair return on their investment. So all these efforts, these activities, these accomplishments, all they really do is demonstrate that we do, in fact, as a community here in Round Rock and as a state, recognize that economic development is important. But they don't answer the question that is the topic of today of why it is important. What is the importance of economic development? Well, I would say it's not growth for growth's sake. Frankly, there are probably many in this room who kind of like the 1979 Round Rock better than they like the 2011 Round Rock. Softer, quieter, little town. There are a lot of people that like the 79 Austin better than the 2011 Austin. I don't think economic development is just let's grow for the sake of growing. If that's our goal, then maybe we are missing the point. Instead, I think there's two purposes when it all boils down. First is to provide jobs, sufficient jobs, to give people opportunity. As was mentioned, I served on the board of Goodwill Industries of Central Texas actually for 10 years and just rolled off in May because the bylaws say you have to roll off after 10 years. I was chair for chair for 3 years and then immediate past chair for the 4th. Phenomenal $60 million a year nonprofit charity whose motto is the power of work. And really the purpose of Goodwill is to help individuals who have various barriers to employment, whether it's anything from serious disabilities all the way to just extended unemployment can be a barrier to employment. If you've been out of the workforce for 10 years, it's hard to get back in. And Goodwill serves for the purpose of helping individuals overcome those barriers. Well, the reality is we all have barriers to employment. But for all of us, and what I saw firsthand, and the reason I was so dedicated to that organization, was the power of work. When you have a job, you have a place. You have an ability. You have independence. You have purpose that you wouldn't otherwise have. Economic development is all about creating those opportunities for the people in this community. Meaningful jobs, and we've been successful at it. I think it was just announced last week, and this, you know, how many of you are in elected officials or work for the city or government service? I saw there's some police folks or whatever. How many of you, anyone here with this, at the Round Rock Leader, Community Impact, any media folks here today? Okay. I love both sides of that aisle, but when you're on one side, the other side always frustrates you. If you're in the media, the government always frustrates you. If you're in the government, the media always frustrates you. This whole business about the unemployment rates, it's just so frustrating to see the stories because it's so difficult to figure out how to, at a national level, it was just reported that the unemployment rate dropped from 9.0 to 8.6%. Which is a great move, but nationally, in the month of November, they added only 120,000 jobs nationally. When you only add 120,000 jobs, your unemployment rate doesn't drop 0.4 nationally. The reason it dropped was because so many people on the national unemployment rolls just quit looking. They're taken off the rolls. They're no longer, what is it, the nominator or the denominator or the numerator, one or the other. They're no longer counted in the mix, so the percentage changes. In Texas, we'll come out, I think next Friday is the date that our November numbers are supposed to come out, but in October, we dropped from 8.5 to 8.4, 1/10. And that was in spite of adding 13,500 net jobs during the month of October. The reason the drop was only 1/10, even though the numbers are higher, even though all the numbers I've told you about, all the jobs that have been created, 1.2 million over 10 years, and the reason the percentage is still up there is because everybody wants to come to Texas to work. The numerator, is it, what's on the bottom? Who's a math teacher? Numerator, denominator? Denominator keeps growing. And so the percentage doesn't go down. It's, you know, we could add 1 million new jobs, but if 2 million people come to Texas and get on the rolls looking for jobs, we're not going to have a great percentage, but we're still doing the right thing. We don't get an economic development to create growth. Growth happens because we're giving opportunities to the people who are here and who are coming here. The difference is that people are coming to Texas. People are coming to Round Rock. Is it 7% in Round Rock? I forget the number, but even lower than the statewide number. They're coming to Round Rock. They're coming to Texas because we are creating opportunities. The second thing that economic development does that makes it important is it provides for community resources, not just for individuals to have opportunities, but for us as a community to have opportunities, to have a police force that keeps us safe. Public safety issues can be addressed with the resources that result from good economic development. Fire, EMS, allow for education, whether it's the libraries or the schools or the higher education, transportation, which I know was a big focus here in Round Rock for many years. In short, through jobs and community resources that result from economic development, studies show literacy rates go up, poverty rates go down, life expectancy goes up. Now, my daughter, I have twin daughters who are 19, both sophomores at Abilene Christian, where my wife and I went and met. One of them decided during her freshman year that she was going to go to Zambia, Africa on a mission-based study abroad program. Not cultural-based, but actually working in an orphanage and medical clinic in Zambia. So that's where she just got back from a week or two ago. She spent the last 3 months there and literally took 16 hours and had to do finals and all that, but in the process was working in this mission. Well, she'd be the first probably, if she were sitting here today, to argue with me and say, no, more money and wealth doesn't make life better. Those kids were happy. But if we sat down and really talked about it, talked about the need for, you know, wealth doesn't make you happy. What economic development and growth does is provide opportunities for you as an individual to, here's what it comes down to, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what economic development is all about, is to provide opportunities for the American dream, to have the resources and the opportunities, not the handouts, as Goodwill says, but the hand-ups. That's what it's all about, is giving the people here an opportunity to pursue that American dream. Round Rock's done it so well. The problem, of course, is when you do it well, growth results. Now, that's both a blessing and a challenge. It's a great thing. Round Rock was 10,000 30 years ago. It's 100,000 now. Growth results. When growth happens, resources can be leveraged and more can happen as a result towards that end of providing opportunity for the American dream. But in the end, that growth causes challenges. Traffic. But I was going to say overloaded schools, but the truth is, one thing I do remember is there were portable buildings at Round Rock High School in 1978, 79, so I guess we've always struggled with that. But sure, challenges happen as a result of that because supply and demand. You're providing a supply that people are demanding that they're not finding in a lot of other places in today's economy. So you're going to have the challenge of that. I'm not going to spend more time talking about it. I do want you to meet Larry. The governor's office, and I think it was back in '03 session, where the legislature moved the state's economic development and tourism programs into the governor's office in '03. And so it's been there now, I guess, 9 years. The purpose was to provide sort of a consolidated approach in one office with one of the statewide elected officials to be able to oversee the focus of that effort. The legislative support for that program has been tremendous between the Emerging Technology Fund, the Texas Enterprise Fund, the Coalition Initiatives. There are so many different resources and opportunities. I want to encourage you to meet Larry and find ways that you can reach out to him to assist as you face these challenges that are coming from the growth that's coming from your success. We love to help you. I'm happy to do what I can, but when it really boils down to it, what I can do is put you in touch with Larry and the folks in his office in that area. So, keep providing the American dream, the opportunity that you're providing. The challenges are going to result from that, but the blessings will as well. So I wish you all a very happy holiday season coming up. Thank you so much for letting us come today, and I wish you all the best.